When I first started my career in sales, especially when I was struggling to convert any deal, I thought that it was important for the client to like us. And that's true. But if you overdo it, then an issue may arise. Hi everyone, my name is Kian. I currently run a company focusing on corporate training, HR consulting, and employee engagement. We have worked with over 10 multinational companies and with over 2,500 employees from 15 different countries over the past year. And as I was saying, I thought that it was important for the client to like us, and that is true, but I was overdoing it. I was trying to make the client think that I was this person that they should like, but I was bending my back for them, and as a result, I was coming across as being ingratiating and servile. I was coming across as a pushover. And when the client saw that, they liked it and they liked working with me. Now, that's the difference between the client liking us and like working with us. The former, in my experience, was more of the client thinking, hey, this person seems to comply with everything that I would say, so I should work with them so that I can take advantage of this person. And that's not good, because when we are the salesperson, we want the client to comply with us, not the reverse. So having learned that lesson, my approach to doing sales right now has changed, and I would like to think it has improved. So there's this one time when I was speaking with the C-suite of one of the largest companies in the world, and I was a bit stressed out and nervous, to say the least, because I wanted to make sure that I was able to make a good first impression and that I didn't screw up as much as I might. And I decided to appeal to the principle of authority, which is what one of the principles that Dr. Robert Cialdini has mentioned. When we're a salesperson, or rather, when we're trying to persuade someone to comply with our request, we want to make sure that we present ourselves as someone of authority. And when he says authority, he does not mean that you're someone who make demands and orders. What he means, though, is that you present yourself as someone who possesses expertise and credibility in the offering, service, product, idea, whatever that you're trying to present. So when I saw that client who was a C-suite, I made sure that I did not use terms like, I did not consistently or overly express terms like, what do you think? Now, hear me out. It's important that we understand where the client is coming from and we seek for their opinions as well. But then if you overdo something like what do you think, you may also come across as being very uncertain. So to balance out my trying to understand the client and the fact that I had credibility, I would also couple them with words like, from my experience working with X number of clients, this is what we observe. I've worked with your competitors and this is what we were able to discover is effective. I would like to think that if we do it this and that way, it would be better than whatever their suggestions may be. And I wasn't trying to play an ego game. I wasn't trying to show that I was better or whatever. I was trying to show that I have knowledge and expertise and experience in that domain. And what that also implies is that if you listen to me and you go ahead with my offering, the likelihood of an event or the outcome being positive is high. And therefore you should listen to me. I have something to share. And I would love to collaborate with you in a way that if we listen to each other equally, and you listen to my recommendations, and I listen to the difficulties that you have, that outcome would be positive, likely. So what I did was that I presented myself as someone who was confident and who was stable and steady. I didn't want to bend my back when the client made requests that I thought were unreasonable or unrealistic. I would point out, and I would of course be polite about it. I would say, hey, I hear you. I hear that these are the challenges, but from our experiences, this is what we have observed. And I would like to think that this other method would be better. Share with me your thoughts. Something like that. So this is different from saying yes all the time, trying to be a yes man, and every time the client says something, you say, oh, this is doable. I would love to go with whatever method that you're trying to propose. So at the end, we managed to close the deal, and the client also perceived us to be experienced, and I would like to think that we are. So the message that I think was important, or the lesson that was important for me, is that, of course, it's important that we're polite. It's important that we induce liking, and that the client liked us. But there's a difference between the client liking us as the person who is presenting a pitch and the client liking working with us because they think that they can manipulate us, whether it be in terms of trying to push the pricing or trying to squeeze out as much as they can from our company or our offering. And liking needs to also be coupled with authority. And again, authority means that you're someone who is worth listening to, who is worth paying attention to, and someone whom, if the client listened to, would benefit from. So the client also needs to have a degree of respect for you as the person who is trying to sell them a product, service, or an idea. Otherwise, I think that the dynamic would be pretty hard, because if you think about any sales dynamic, the social dynamic is such that the salesperson is of a lower social status for the most part, unless, of course, the salesperson has something that is unique and is monopolizing the industry, and the client really needs or must only buy from this particular salesperson. Otherwise, for the most part, if you think about a sales social dynamic, what's happening is that the salesperson is saying, hey, I need you to pay me, which is why I'm here to pitch to you. And because you meaning the salesperson, are the person who is needing something from the client, then you're perceived as somewhat of a lower social status. So given that this tends to be the case, we want to make sure that we present our credibility as far as our offering is concerned, so that as far as knowledge, you're able to then raise your social status and present yourself as someone who is worth listening to and that the client ideally should listen to. And that is, I would say, my learning of the principle of authority. I use it with my pitches, and I found that to be very helpful, and I hope that you find it helpful as well. And keep winning. And if you enjoyed the video, feel free to, do subscribe and like, and I will see you in the next one.